Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 343, Special Report, Batman Inc., number 8. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, Dr. Norge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. Why? Just read all. So says the sensei of the Whatnot Segulin and the Duke of
Shock and awe, man. Shock and awe. Holy crud.
Yeah, we're talking Batman Inc. number 8, and this is a huge episode where we're talking about the events of Batman Inc. number 8, but also there's a couple of news articles that we're referring to about where Batman and Robin goes from here. So you want to pay special attention. There's links in the show notes to those things, because along the way in our discussion, we started looking for things to try to get an idea where things go from here, and so that does become part of the discussion as we go on. This is a very fast release. It's very loosely edited, so we really appreciate you joining us, and we figured this is stuff that people wanted to hear a reaction to right away. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts. Sponsoring us this episode is DCBService.com. DCBService.com is your comic book pre-order source. If you're looking for deals on pre-orders, amazing deals, they're always offering them every month at our good friends DCBService.com. We are at the end of the month, which means the new deals are going to be coming in the beginning of March. So make sure over next week you're checking out to see what's coming up next from DCBService.com. Remember, they are a digital partner. And what happens is if you take your digital accounts and register them and link them to your DCB Service account, you get 5% of each of those purchases in credit. So you're not paying anything more, but you're getting credit towards DCB Services purchases. So please make sure you do that and take advantage of those deals. Over at InStockTrades.com, I want to remind everyone that they are your trade and hardcover collected edition source. Orders of $50 or more give you free shipping, and I want to just thank both of those sites for supporting our show. Jim, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in depth into the plotline, story twists, and whatnot of Batman Inc. number 8. So if you have not read the issue, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
I also want to add that we are going to be discussing commentary from the Batman and Robin interview with Peter Tomasi. That's on Newsarama. It does go into where things are going for that Batman and Robin title after the events of Batman Inc. number 8. So that gets a little spoilery to the future of that title. So I don't want to ruin anybody's experience if you don't want to hear any of that stuff. I mean, it doesn't go too crazy. It just gives you kind of an idea of the kind of issues that you would expect coming out of the events of issue 8. That article is linked in our show notes, so if you want to read that before the segment, please go ahead and do so. Let's talk the comic. Jim, for this show, I wanted to do kind of a casual, quick, unedited, off-the-cuff, because this big event has happened in the latest issue of Batman Incorporated, issue number 8. And let me go ahead and just do the creative team real quick. It's Grant Morrison, writer. Jason Masters, art, pages 6 to 9. Chris Burnham is the artist for the rest of the book. We've got Nathan Fairbairn. It's Bairn on colors. Taylor Esposito, letterer. Burnham with Fairbairn on cover and variant cover. Ricky Purdon, associate editor. Mike Martz, group editor. Batman created, of course, by Bob Kane. And apologies for any name butchery. It's so funny, the Batman Inc., and I don't want to take anything away from the book because I've been greatly enjoying it every month. But with everything going on in the regular Batman book, and how Batman and Robin tied into it, it's one of those books that I've loved every issue. I've been digging it, but as far as even talking about on the show, it's been falling under my radar because of the heavy events going there, which is why this hit me as like a 1-2 sucker punch. I've been digging the Leviathan story and everything that's been going on. I love Talia al Ghul. I've loved Damian's story. I've loved what Morrison's been doing. In some ways, it's kind of better, because, I think nowadays, I know, we knew yesterday, the day before it was released, we were talking about the New York Post article that came out kind of revealing what was going on here. But for me, it was kind of better with this not knowing this was coming with what happened with Damian, just because I think it had more impact. I'm still, as of starting to record this, not sure how I feel about it. I thought first of all, the issue I thought was fantastic. I really loved issue 8. It's the R on the cover with the Robin R.I.P. And there's that part of me that's kind of like, no, there's got to be another way, right? Huge impact from this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a big issue, a huge pivotal issue in the Batman universe. What are your feelings, like just general feelings overall about the issue and what happened here?
Well, you know how we have that rule where we're going to try to keep this appropriate for all ages and watch our, we're going to watch our language.
Well, I think you can probably vocalize what you want to say while watching that. So.
When I first read through this, I had some choice words that wouldn't have been appropriate for this show just because I so love this character.
I do too, yeah.
And it's nothing against the quality of writing or quality of story being told. It's a good story being told. But Damian to me is such a wonderful character that there's so much more that can be done with him. And we've seen him in every single Bat title, every single thing remotely related to the Bat title. He brings something to each book. He's not just a throwaway character. He's not a support character. He's not somebody that should be killed off lightly. And so in his death here, I'm like, it shouldn't have happened. And I'm like, this is Damian. You shouldn't kill off Damian. This is, yes, I understand this was the original intention of the character and the original intention when he first started telling the story, but the character has evolved beyond what he originally started off as. And, to just have him go away is, I was like, oh man, come on. There's so much more they could have done with Damian. And the only thing that I am holding on to is the fact that, dead, he's dead, but is he dead? Is this, can they somehow through various super-aged, superhuman medicine and or mystic, Lazarus pit or whatever you want to do with, they can find ways to bring Damian back. He may not be dead, or this could all just be, a giant swerve that eventually Damian lives and survives this, or who knows. There's so many different ways this can go. We got to wait until issue 9 to really see whether he is dead. And even then, it may be issue 10 that he comes back, or 11 or whatnot, because this character is so ingrained in the Bat universe, it's going to be difficult for him not to be around.
Well, let me ask you this. What happens if he doesn't? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm pretty convinced there's a possibility this is it. Although this is the same writer that killed and brought back Bruce. So would he do that with Damian?
Well, when he killed off Bruce, we knew immediately that Bruce wasn't dead.
Right.
We saw that in the very first panel that they showed him trapped in time. So there was never any doubt that Bruce was dead. There's doubt whether, Damian is going to come back. Because you got Bruce with the traditional death in the family pose of him holding another dead Robin in his hands.
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm saying this is a guy whose did we see, was that in Final Crisis? In that immediate issue where Batman died that we saw that he was trapped in time?
Yes.
Okay.
It was the last page of that issue. They showed,
right.
The bat, in the shadow image of the guy drawing the bat symbol. So we knew right then and there that we knew Bruce was still alive.
But I don't think we knew for sure that was Bruce, did we?
No, they didn't flat out have a sign saying this is Bruce Wayne. But you read it, you can tell.
Yeah. I guess in Damian's case, I'm wondering, like you, is there a possibility there's a story to be told here where Damian, could come back? I don't know. How would you feel if he doesn't?
I would be upset just because I care about the character. And again, it's the same thing where there's so many different stuff they could do with, think about the aftermath issues of death of the family, where you see Damian and Dick Grayson hanging out. You saw Damian and Jason Todd connecting. Yeah. There's so much more you can do with this character, and I still want to see Damian having fun. I want to see Damian just being a kid. This is a side issue. Think about that one issue where Damian sent Bruce on a wild goose chase around the globe, showing him different places his parents had been, and do what that whole really cool relationship that father-son relationship between the two of them. More moments like that would be amazing. And it's that's the kind of stuff that I will be upset that we're missing out on if he's dead. If he's gone, what happens next? It's you think about there's a title called Batman and Robin. Well, what happens if there's no Robin? There's gotta what happens to that title? Do they replace that Robin with somebody else? Filling in as in like Batman and one of the former Robins, or is it? What happens to right there?
I'm looking at issue 6 of Final Crisis. I'm sorry, I wanted to drop back to this. When Superman comes out with Batman's body, that's the end of the issue. So there wasn't, because when you were sitting there saying when Batman died, we knew right away that he was in the past. That was not in issue 6 of Final Crisis. He died in issue 6, and the last image was Superman holding his dead body.
Okay, maybe it was the end of maybe it was the last issue of Final Crisis.
That's why I was puzzled when you were saying that. I'm like, okay. I don't remember knowing at that issue that Batman was still alive. That's why I was so puzzled when you were saying that. And I looked because I wanted to verify that. It's the end of, and I'm looking now. It's the end of issue 7 of Final Crisis where we see him, and that is you actually see drawing on the wall. You see the rest of his outfit and the utility belt and stuff like that. So that was the verification that he was somewhere lost in time. I guess the reason why I went to I was thinking of Batman's death there and the bringing it back is we've got that moment there where Batman died and there was more of the story to be told. I'm hoping that's the case with Damian. I really like this kid. Yeah. I felt the same. See, the hard part is though. I also read The Death of Jason Todd. I loved him from The Cult. And my feelings of Jason Todd felt very differently then. And boy, when that was it. They killed him. He was done. Like, that decision was made. He was killed. He didn't come back until, after Hush. So that's a long time that he was dead. Dead doesn't have to stay dead for Damian, but boy, it could. I'm very worried over what his death looked like in this. He took a sword right through his chest.
Before he took a sword, he was shot multiple times with bullets and arrows. He's got at least 3 or 4 arrows in him and at least 3 or 4 bullet wounds. One looked like it may have been a headshot. So Damian got messed up in this fight. And then the coup de grace was the sword through the chest. If Damian survives this, it's going to be some supernatural medicine, super medicine, and or just some serious Wayne Tech medicinal aid coming to his rescue. Because, as I'm reading this, as I'm thinking about this, I'm, going through my head all the different ways that Damian could survive this.
And he didn't take a headshot. You're right, he's riddled with arrows and stuff, but he didn't take a headshot because in that panel, I know we're kind of really jumping to this right away, but there's that panel where he goes, "Call him off at once, mother." And you can see his head's clearly not fine. He's been beat up. Yeah. The next panel we see him in is when the sword's through him.
Yeah, the headshot. What looked to me to be a headshot was on that multiple page where they show him and his clone, whatever you want to call the guy, fighting. And one of the panels where he's got 2 arrows, he's got an arrow and a bullet hitting him. It looks kind of like a bullet, is either ricocheting or coming near his head. That's why I said maybe a headshot.
But you can see, if you take a look at that one you're talking about, the one where he says, "Ow."
Yeah.
You can actually see right next to his head what looks like it ricocheted.
Oh, okay.
You see the white there?
Yeah.
That would be whatever hit him ricocheted there. So I'm guessing his hood, I'm assuming he's got quite a headache from it.
Yeah. That one hurts.
Yeah. Boy.
And I tell you, just as we're talking about this panel, this was just a great fight sequence. How they put like so much. And I don't want to say, I was going to say crammed, but that of sounds a negative. I don't want this because I loved how these aren't your traditional panels. And they're kind of layered on top of each other, and just how they put so much into this one page. And it was done just to show the intensity of the battle, show the intensity of the bam, 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 rapid fire, motion. I loved like just a couple of these panels, like the one where Damian lands and then he gets riddled with some bullets. He hits immediately one panel after another. Then he's into the fight again, and it's just a constant battle. Really shows the chaos.
He was taken over the knee with that break sequence, and the kid still got up.
Yeah,
and he defiantly says no, die, and hits him with that. I mean, the heroic nature of this fight Damien's inability to quit, and really just realizing in this moment he's got to put a stop to this. It was a very heroic moment for him. I mean, if this is it for him, boy, did he go out on a high note. I mean, that sequence, and I agree with you when you were sitting there saying, I know what you mean as far as cramp, you're saying there was a lot going on. I think that was, like you, I felt that was incredibly necessary, because if this is it for him, wow, what a way to go. I mean, fight-wise, woo.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, he went down swinging, he went down fighting. And that's you talk about just a hero's death. Now, granted, he wasn't dying saving the universe. He didn't die, saving everything, but he died saving that one little girl. And think about Damien. How much would he have, when he first was introduced, would he have gone through all of this just for that person, just for that little girl? Or would he have said, needs of the, many outweigh the needs of the fewer than one, and let her die? But no, this is, Damien's, he's now embracing the code of the bat, and it kind of got him killed. Hopefully we'll see Damien come back. I'm hoping for a Lazarus pit.
I'm also going to argue, though, that, and building off of what you're saying, I think at this point we're pretty clear that Damien has his own code. Yeah. Like, he's taken things from his dad, but he's evolved. I think you hit a certain point where it's no longer that you're following somebody else's code. It's you've taken the elements of it that you believe in and respect for yourself, and you adapt and modify it and evolve it to fit you and your goals, your directions. We've seen this kid grow into learning what he needs from his relationship with his father, what he needs from being a Robin, that this role means something to him, that the legacy of Robin means something to him. He needed the validation that I am Robin. This is who I am. I have earned this. This is my spot. It's not theirs anymore. It's my place, my time. It really has made this his own. It's a very unique character who has developed into, to me, every bit as important to me as, we often mention Tim Drake. It's funny how I could not imagine, that's the part where I mean this, I can't imagine anybody else being Robin right now than Damien.
Yeah. Yeah, this
bothers me.
And other stuff like with where does this story arc fit in with association to Death of the Family? Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, they made reference.
It's pretty safe that it's after.
Well, it should be, yeah. But where does it fit in? Because again, I'm remembering the aftermath on the Red Hood and the Outlaws. Red Hood and the Outsiders, where Jason's thinking about his time with Damien, and he's remembering a story arc from this where he was being was it the Dark Knight or whatever, when Jason was in disguise and Damien was in disguise.
Right.
So it's like I don't know where this occurs in the universe, but that's a whole nother side discussion.
I think the thing is we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
And I think what's going to really determine that is this really his death? I'm really uncomfortably worried that's what we saw. Like, especially after Morrison's interview, I'm really uncomfortably worried that's what we saw. Because this character, it's funny how he's evolved far beyond the original intention. He had that extended time with Dick Grayson because that wasn't supposed to be as long as it was. And I'm glad that it was, because the moments where he's talking to Dick Grayson in this were absolutely some of my favorites, where the two of them are like together and he's basically saying, the odds are completely against us. And when did we ever let something like that get in the way? Robin the Boy Wonder, Damien. So far, I'd say you've been my favorite partner. We were the best, Richard, no matter what anyone thinks. To me, that relationship between the two of them and how it evolved along the way, where Damien was really, in the beginning, saying that I should be Batman, not you.
Yeah.
and how it evolved into a respect and a team. And, the two of them became partners. And for them to have that moment there, if this is it for the character, wow. These moments were pivotal. It really shows that this character is important. It plays on the heartstrings of us as fans, because this is exactly what these two should have. And, Dick Grayson said, hey, we can't help being great. I just loved seeing that moment with the two of them jumping out, the intensity in that. And I was harder for me knowing where the end of the issue was going to go, because we knew from the New York Post article where it was going to go. And just, I'm like, but there has to be a way, right? This isn't going to work. We saw a lot of death in this. Like, I don't know what the status of Batman Inc. is going to be after this. This is obviously, I think, what Bruce was building to with Batman Inc., trying to stop this threat, not knowing totally what it was at the time. But the other thing that I think that was going on with this, you sit in death. Night is gone.
Yeah.
Knight and Squire. And, which had his own series, that mini-series, which I thought was really cool. And, to see that death, there's a character who I was greatly enjoying. Where does that leave that character? And it's funny, after this, I was kind of thinking to myself, well, is there a possibility that, we'll get a female Robin and like a Squire-type character will become Robin? And I'm sitting there, no, I want Damian. It was, my heart went out to Bruce on this one. Here's my question, and we'll go back and talk about some of the events leading to this in the series, but I can't help but jump right to this. Lazarus Pit? Like, do we go there with this? Because we saw Dick Grayson use a Lazarus Pit to try and bring back Bruce. That was how he found out that it was, false Bruce. And he put it in there, that thing that came out mindless, that was attacking them, as a clone. That was how, our first clue that the Final Crisis clones, that was the body that Superman recovered. Option for Damian? I mean, that's for the Al Ghul family. That's been there before. That's Jason, how he came back.
Yeah, that's my first thought is going to be Lazarus Pit. Now, the thing that gets me is, will Bruce want to do that? Because I can't see Bruce, even though Bruce is heartbroken over the loss of Damian, I can't see him saying, yes, we're going to do this. So that, I think, is part of the story of who will put Damian in the Lazarus Pit. Talia's already, shown that she's not going to. Damian's a failed experiment. He's done. Would Dick Grayson do it? Would Jason Todd do it? Would Tim Drake do it? Who is going to put Damian in the Lazarus Pit?
It wouldn't it's funny you say that, but you see Talia in that moment. Nothing. It's nothing. A moment of weakness. That's all. But you see it. I mean, there's an emotional resonance there for her, which I liked seeing, for her as a mother. But you're right, that whole sequence with her, our son was a flawed creation, born from a bottle, a failed experiment. You lost the world that might have been yours. You lost me. You're losing everything. You're losing the game. Your move, my detective. Just that the race to get to his son. Doing everything he can, jumping on the man-bat, to use that as a way to get to his son, and it's too late in that moment. Wow. Just a crushing amount of intensity in that sequence.
God, yeah. And one of the panels that I thought was really kind of cool was when the Dick Grayson's he's taken down, and he on the one panel you have what's his name saying, "My brother, my twin, my rival." You see an unconscious Nightwing. Next page over, in the middle of the Damian fight, you can kind of see Grayson trying to get up on his feet. And, he's, still hunched over and still, beaten down. But I love just that little attention to detail showing that Grayson may be down, but he's still trying to get back on his feet. And this is why Damon's right now fighting this guy alone. And again, it adds to the need to have that massive in one page just to show you that was one simple volley between them. That was a rapid fire of counter move between them within a span of a blink of an eye, which is, again, because when I was reading through this the first time, I was like, where's Grayson? Where's Drake? Damian shouldn't be by himself. Come on. This should be Team Batten. But you go back and you look and you see the art, they put in there why these others aren't involved in the fight. Tim's still stuck underneath the plane that crashes down on top of him. Nightwing's, down and out trying to recover. It was stuff like that that really made me appreciate this issue a lot more the second and third read-throughs.
Yeah, and I liked seeing the use of the Bat family. Like, Tim, I'm not just in this issue. Tim Drake's use throughout this has been great. Like, where he almost got blown up last issue, and we saw the wings getting burnt. I like attention to detail where when he goes into this issue, he still doesn't have his Red Robin wings with him because they were burnt up. Like, tiny things like that showing an increased battle damage as the arc's been going on is something that I really enjoy because it builds this sense of intensity and, this sense of epic, an epic nature to the fight, which is funny. These guys that were through so much in the death of the family, that to see them in this going through similar circumstances was like, whoa, really powerful. I really liked the artwork with Tim in this. Seeing him use his own skill set, the use of people, and particularly the kids. To me, one of the scariest horror movies of all time, and I've shared it on the show before, for me, I love horror movies. I love that whole genre. I love suspense films and things, but The Omen, the original Omen. And the reason why is because it was a kid that was possessed by the devil, and there was something about that was just, to me, very, very creepy. Because I love kids. I'm a teacher. The kids are really important to me. To see kids in that kind of role is it's bothersome to me, because I tend to like to think the best of children. That they're really, there's an opportunity with kids to make them something better, not to have them start off as, this horrid thing. The use of the control over the kids with the Leviathan sequence where they're coming off of that bus, the Leviathan thing.
Yeah.
And Jim Gordon was looking at them last issue going like, these are kids coming at us. We can't, and that's the problem. You can't take down kids the way that you could. And I liked that distinction. There's something about that where that would be harder. There would be a bigger problem. How do you handle that situation? You can't handle it in the way you would do something else. I really enjoyed the interaction and the placement of that in this series, and just how they would make this difficult. Seeing the different assassins around in Damien's battle was something that I thought added to the sense it wasn't just a one-on-one for him. He's being attacked on all fronts, and he's still going on.
Yeah.
Oof. I'll tell you one thing. I said I couldn't be Batman. Usually Robin's the one where I'm saying, I could be Robin, maybe. There's no way I could be Damien. When he comes flying in that whole sequence, I like that he was the one taking out the kids.
Yeah.
When he's flying it, because he's a kid. This is his chance to be the one to really help out there. I love gadgets. I loved seeing that suit when he's flying in. This is him going against Dad's orders. And this is something he knows that Alfred's done for other Robins. And he basically, it was funny, he could have left on his own anyway. But he had that moment of, I felt it was like respect for Alfred.
Yeah.
Where he was being blunt with him and telling him that he knows what's what. This is what I'm going to do. And he's covering for Alfred by using the voice recognition. And Alfred's shocked. Alfred is shocked that Damien is able to bypass security by mimicking his father's voice. I mean, what a brilliant moment that was.
Oh, God,
this.
yeah.
I really love that. And it's funny, I'm gushing over this book in general, not this particular issue, Batman Inc., and it's been lost a little bit commentary-wise for me on this show because of the stuff going on with Snyder and his work. But boy, has this been a great read month in, month out. I've really enjoyed it, building to this. And I did read, especially last night after we were done recording, and I saw the news, I read like 3 of the issues leading up to this in order to, not to prepare for this, because we didn't know we were going to do this. We decided to do this on the fly. I just did it because I wanted to kind of get the whole freshness to what's been going on with Batman Inc. and then read this issue and go, whoa.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. I liked Batman in the Safe.
Yes. And again, that was a cool way to delay him. She knew it wasn't going to stop him, but it was just enough time to delay him. Because, Talia knew what Damien, was going to do. So she knew the sun was going to go there. That's why she had the people ready down there for him. This was all a setup and a trap and an ambush to kill Damien. This was about, either punishing Bruce or making him fail or wherever her mind was at with this. But this whole plan was everything, and that's, again, was a cool, she's such a great villain for Bruce because of the level of strategery she was going out with this. She laid down this great trap for Damien. And you think about it, throughout this whole thing has been leading up to this point where, from the very beginning of what the series has been about, it's been about, Bruce failing as a father.
Yeah, and that's been the tough part, because you've got 2 parents, really, who have that whole failure sort of thing going on, because Bruce feels the same way about her parenting skills.
Oh, yeah.
Which is apparent in all this. It was funny how there was that reference that she made, and I think it was the last issue before this one, where she started talking about herself becoming, like, the great villain in all this, to the detective. And how this really is about power and generating that power. It was sad, that issue, because there's a sequence where Damian asks Alfred to take care of the pets.
Yeah.
And, we got Bat Cow.
Yes.
Which I love Bat Cow. How great is that? But you've got the dog and the cat and all these things that make a kid a kid. It's those moments where Damian makes me feel like a kid again when you're doing that. I'm like, oh, that's neat. There's certain moments where a kid is written just right, and I think there have been moments where Morrison has let Damian become a kid again. I think Tomasi's done a great job of that as well. It's funny how, if this had been done as early as Morrison was talking about in that interview, then I don't know that this would have had the impact it's having for me right now. I don't know that I would have cared much about this guy. Now we're in this place, and I'm like, no, you can't do this.
Yeah, this is a tough one. If this sticks, man, I will be upset just because I've lost such a great character. And just thinking of all, you're mentioning just with the Bat Cow, with him playing with that cat and training the cat and then the dog and just everything. I was just like, oh my God, there's so much more they could do with this kid. Could you imagine Damian's first date? Could you just imagine how crazy that would be? If you think back to the Robin series, where they showed Tim going on his first date, where Bruce in the middle of it interrupts it, and just everything that happened throughout that sequence, how awesome of an issue that was. Can you just imagine how crazy Damian's the first time he goes out would be? Like, we can't lose that. We gotta have that issue, man.
Yeah, it's funny how this character, I think, is pretty pivotal to everything. The funny part is at the end of the issue, they do those little 2-page Bethany Snow 52 anchor issues, and that breaking news Robin is dead, and they do the please stand by.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, I'm really thinking that he is dead, and I don't think I think dead is dead for this character, which I really don't want to happen. I'm to the point where I will accept any solution they give to keep Damian alive. Even something as lame as, okay, just throw him a couple bandages on his chest. Oh no, it was just a flesh wound. It really wasn't as bad as it looked.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Or let's pull in some people from the DC universe. As Bruce. The next issue, Bruce is sitting there, and all of a sudden he's bathed in blue light, and in comes Saint Walker, and the Blue Lantern heals him. Mm-hmm. Anything, any solution they want to throw out, I'll say okay as long as Damian's alive.
Yeah, I'll take a magic goofy salve that makes no sense at all. I will justify it. They don't even... Wait, here's the thing. They can do a one-panel thing. He's magically okay. I will tell you what happened in between the panels and make it work.
Exactly. Zatanna backspeak. Fine.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Zatanna walks in there, says, Damian lived backwards. Whoop, he's up. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that solution. Done. Let's just continue on with the character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got a feeling that ain't going to happen, but...
Yeah, we'll settle for anything.
Yeah. Man. And well, it's funny because even if you want to say, you know what, we've decided this series isn't in continuity. Oh, okay, sure.
You got the digital...
I'd accept that answer as well.
You got the... Well, we know it is.
We know it is, but if they wanted to come out...
Because it says right on the cover, the new 52.
Dude, even if they wanted to come out and say that, in starting next issue, saying, no, we've changed our mind, this isn't in continuity. Okay. I'd be okay with that answer.
It's a dream.
Yes, dream sequence. I'm fine with it. Dallas dream sequence. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
I really liked the alternate covers. Did you... I know you got the digital version.
Yeah.
After the end of the issue, when you got to see that Chris Burnham cover with Batman and Robin there, the two of them standing there together, ready to fight. I thought it was really, really a cool cover. And then the different variations on that, the original cover with Damian there, the red version and the black and white version. I'm a big fan of those. I think that just looks fantastic. It's funny, I really, really enjoyed this issue. For as much as the ending made me uncomfortable, the lead up and build to it I thought was absolutely fantastic. From the use of Damian doing things like using that giant $quarter as a way to even the odds with all the assassins there. Or that wasn't Damien. I'm sorry. That was Tim.
That was Tim.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Tim. But let me, flashing back to that, a motion action sequence where you're like, get down. And he swings around and kicks that and goes, let me handle this. I thought that sequence was really, really great and fantastic. And then, Damien going from wearing the suit to, back into his normal outfit garb. I don't know. It was just, this did not let up from page one. There was constantly Robins coming into the sequences, being there for a purpose. Tim had a purpose in this. Dick Grayson had a purpose in this. Damien had a purpose in this. Let me ask you this. I don't know if you do this. When it comes to Nightwing, do you tend to refer to him as Nightwing more or Dick Grayson?
I think he's one of the characters. I tend to refer to him as Dick.
I do too. And I don't, most heroes I tend to refer to in their role. It's funny how, like, Bruce Wayne, I think, is another one. Bruce and Batman, I kind of flip-flop between. I'm pretty comfortable with that. Damien, I think I say Damien more, too. It's funny how in the Batman world, Tim Drake, I think I tend to do the Tim thing more. Jason Todd. I don't know that I always do that, though, with characters. But it's funny.
Think with the Bat family, I do it more. And even Barbara too. Yeah. There's something about the Bat characters where their persons are so associated with their character that, Nightwing, it's Dick Grayson. That is his style. That is the fight style. That is the character style. That is the hero style. It's that same type of person. And Damien, this is Damien, man. Come on, it's such a personalization of the Robin to him, and with Tim, even when he was Robin, Red Robin, all the variations, I always referred to him as Tim just because I was so connected, and he was he was my buddy Tim, who happens to be Red Robin. So there's a lot of I think we get more personalized with the Bat family just because they're non-mega powered, they're non-meta powered, they're regular people that somewhere in our minds we do think, with a little bit of discipline, some training, and a good workout regimen, I could be, blank. I could be one of them. Granted, I don't think I really could, but. In that weird stretch of the universe, and that somewhere out there in an alternate Earth, there is there's a version of me that is in the physical shape that he could actually do this type of stuff.
Now, here's my question. Let's say this does stick, because I'm with you. I'm under the impression that he really is dead, and that this is a pretty big deal. Just because, especially when you're doing a New York Post article about it, that seems pretty, letting that cat out of the bag, that seems pretty epic. My hope is that this story somehow plays out, that there's a way to save Damien, or resurrect Damien or whatever, because I love the character to death now. Well, I love the character to life now. Let me catch myself on that one. But if he is, what do you think this will do to Bruce? How will this cause a shift? Do you have any feelings on that?
Oh, this is going to destroy him. Because you think about everything he survived with death of the family and everything the Joker put him through, now to lose his son, who Damien started to make the headway. Damien had, actually, I'm not even going to say start. Damien turned the corner. Damien really was embracing the code of the Bat. Damien was really being a Wayne. And he was really showing that he is a Wayne. He's not an Al Ghul. And Bruce saw that. And that's why I mentioned that one scene where, Damien sent Bruce on that wild goose chase around the globe, showing him the different spots, like where his father proposed to his mother, the hotel that they had stayed at when Bruce was a little kid, and just all these different things all the research Damien did. Heck, Damien found the one missing pearl that it was from the mother's necklace. So Damien has really gone above and beyond, showing I am a Wayne. And Bruce has acknowledged it. And they kind of were at this point of their relationship now to have him lose him. But I think Bruce is going to lose it. And this is going to be... I feel really... I'm thinking we're going to see a more intense... And I hope he's not going to go back to the sullen, creepy Batman that doesn't have anyone around him. But I think we're going to see a more intense, hard-hitting Batman.
Here's the other thing, too, Jim. That annual makes an interesting prelude to all of this, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As far as build-wise, oof. I'm very, very worried about this. Very, very worried. It's in comics nowadays. I rarely get worried about character death because they can always be brought back with great storytelling and all that. With the way Morrison was talking about it, there's that part of me that's like, "Woof, you don't want to cheapen this." But I don't want to lose this guy either. Okay, let's go this route. Damian's really dead. What do you do about Robin? Do you eventually put one of the former Robins back in that role? Do you go with a new Robin? What would you do eventually, Jim?
Eventually, a new Robin. Mm-hmm. You know, because all the other Robins aren't Robins anymore. They're Red Hood, they're Nightwing, they're Red Robin. They're not Robin anymore. You know, then he would need somebody else, somebody new in the role. And to be honest, this could be a spot for Stephanie Brown. We could have a female Robin very easily. Granted, I know she wasn't a Robin. Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, she was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was. Mm-hmm. But you know, and we
I
definitely
quite liked
could,
her.
Yeah, yeah. This could be a way to introduce the character into the DC universe, but you got to have time with it. And again, it's Tim Drake didn't want to call himself Robin because Jason had just died. That's why he went with Red Robin. Well, we have a dead Robin. Is the next person going to call himself Robin?
You went from Red Robin to Dead Robin. It's like, oh.
Can you really, you know, can the next person call themselves Robin, or will they have to come up with a different name?
Well, with Jason, it was okay to go for the next person to call himself Robin.
Well, when Jason became Robin, it wasn't because of death. It was, you know...
No. But Tim Drake became Robin after the death of a Robin.
Tim Drake never called himself Robin.
Well,
He's
but in
always
the...
called himself Red Robin.
In the previous continuity, though, he did.
Previous continuity, yes. I'm talking current continuity. If we're going to continue on down this line of thought and the way this continuity is written, the next person coming in, if they were to call themselves Robin, they'd be looked at kind of like a jerk. Because, like, hey, you know, the Robin before this died. You don't carry on. You don't say you're Robin now. Show some respect. You know, and I think that would be an issue.
What would you call him?
I don't know. I'm not that creative.
Well, remember that was Tim's choice, not Bruce's choice.
Correct. But I think you got to follow suit. If it was me, if I was the next person coming in, I would not call myself Robin. I don't know what name I would call myself because.
But what if Bruce calls him Robin?
Well, if Bruce calls you Robin, then you kind of got a pass. If the father of the dead child is saying, yes, you can call yourself Robin, then okay, you're all right. But I don't want to be the one to say, hey, do you mind if this may open up some painful wounds for you, but I'm going to call myself the hero, the name that your dead son went under.
Oh, and I agree with that point, but I would see that being something that Bruce would give it. Because, honestly, the only way you're going to get a new Robin is if
Bruce authorizes it, and Bruce isn't going to. Yeah, there's no way Bruce is going to say, yes, I should have another Robin after this.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, I'm wondering, as I said, the Batman and Robin title, what's going to happen there? Because for me, I would think it would be a neat way to go with it is to have the ex-Robins be in that title with him. Have a story arc where it's Bruce and Nightwing doing some stuff, and it's the various Robins hanging out with Bruce, making sure Bruce is okay, try to help Bruce get through this. And as the story goes on, you have all these ex-Robins dealing with Bruce, and eventually after a couple story arcs of this, Bruce can finally say, "Listen, I understand what you're doing. You don't need to do this." And that could be the beginning of the search for the new Robin. That could be the beginning of an identifying of a new Robin, or they could go throughout. There's so much it's funny because I don't want Damian to go, but there is so much they could do with this story-wise, that they could use this in the universe. I personally don't want them to. I want them to bring Damian back, but if they choose to keep him dead and it's set in stone, there is so much they can do with this in the future.
We took a slight break from recording because I remembered seeing something today where I saw an article. It's from Newsarama, and actually there's links in the show notes to it. There's an article with Peter Tomasi, basically after the news leaked, about the future of the Batman and Robin title. So it kind of puts an end to our questions as far as how, because there's going to be a funeral issue of Batman and Robin.
There's going to be Dead is Dead, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The book title will change for a few months, where it's going to be Batman and Red Robin. Batman and Red Hood. He then talks about how, as this, boy, wouldn't that be Jason Todd and Bruce having to meet up after what's happened to Damian? Like, how will Jason Todd react to this? What will this mean for their relationship? Because we got to see, I know you recently read the Red Hood and the Outlaws, issue 17.
Right.
Which I think has shown, it's funny how that issue reads very differently now in light of where this has gone. You know, as far as where that leaves Jason.
Oh, God, yeah.
He's already, I think, in a position where he can take a different role in this than maybe he would have taken a year ago at this time. Then they talk about how the ending of that and the focus on Bruce and Alfred will then shift to a major Uber epic that comes afterwards. What does that mean? Where does this go? And the questions of what will this title be called as the series goes forward. Very emotional story, hard-hitting story. To even hear that the artist was emotionally hit from this, knowing it was coming. These guys have known for some time. And honestly, I loved his commentary on what he wanted to do with the character. You put these two butting heads, Bruce and Damian, butting heads in the early part of it, but then slowly learning respect for each other and growing to the point where there's a strong love bond there. They really nailed that in Batman and Robin. I feel this issue had so much more emotional impact. And I'm not taking anything away from the work of Grant Morrison, which is absolutely brilliant, but I love that Tomasi and Gleason really did a great job of taking the foundation that Morrison laid in place and saying, okay, how can we add to this? This is a strength of the Batman family of titles right now with the creative working in it. It's all of these titles are doing great jobs of enhancing stories that are going on in other books. Like, you could just leave this as being a Batman Inc. event. It would have been a huge impact. But when you take that Batman and Robin has been developing and building towards this on its own, then you pop that back into Batman Inc., this means more. This has a higher impact because of that. The comments about Titus there, oof.
Yeah, Titus is now the living, breathing touchstone to Damian. Mm-hmm. It's all Bruce has left of Damian, and I think that's, oh my God, I'm sitting there going, oh no, and he is dead. This is dead, and just the fact that the next the arc's going to be the 5 stages of grief, but it's going to be a distinct way that only Batman can. And I'm like, oh boy, it's again. I don't want to see Damian dead, but I think we're going to get a serious, we're going to get some cool story coming out of this, and I still would be okay with them bringing him back any way possible. I don't care because I like the little guy, but this is wow. And it's, man, you think about everything that guy's been through. Just over the years, especially recently, he's had the whole Court of Owls, everything that happened throughout the Owl story. Then he gets hit with the Joker story, and now this, his son dies. If there's any hero in the DC universe that I do not want to be, it is Batman.
Right. Now, Batman Incorporated artist Chris Burnham says that Damian is as dead as Thomas and Martha Wayne. It's funny how in one of the articles on Newsarama, it's sitting there saying, let's hope that ends up being the case. Oof. I don't know. I'm all for good guys losing, which is the point that the article's making. Sometimes to see the good guys lose, and I get that point, and I can see that. My problem is, I think this character... And it is a lot of this is the work of Tomasi and Gleason. They've done such a great job of telling amazing stories with him and his father that I see everything you said about there being more potential, an eventual date, eventually this guy growing up. Although there's something to be said for now, he's not going to have that, and Dad's got to face that, which is going to be pivotal. The cover that they show of Batman and Robin in that Tomasi article that we were talking about, where you see like that raging Bruce bursting out of the Red Hood mask, was just very powerful to me to see that. That's a big sign of what is to come for Bruce. This is just a story that I guess I've been in denial and hoping there's a way out of this. I'm really becoming more and more convinced, especially as I'm reading these articles. Although there's that part of me that's hoping this is just creative doing an amazing job of playing the internet. And God, I would love that as well. I don't care what they do in this case. I do feel if this is Damian's last issue alive, if this was what they did, as his last issue. I really felt like they did a great job on the issue.
Yeah. I'm thinking this is it. And I don't want that because I love the character, but I'm thinking we're done. Yeah, I think Damian, I think this is the last we're going to see Damian unless they do a story arc later down the line. You know, you can always bring a character back. They did it with Jason Todd. They could always do it with Damian. But I think right now this is the plan, and I think all the members of the Bat family have been in on this plan. Because it was cool because in the article, Tomasi's talking about just some of the hints they dropped throughout this that they're preparing for, Damian, to be dead. Like with the one scene where Damian's laying down in his bed and Bruce wakes him up. It was kind of the way they laid it out is as if he was laying in a coffin, as if he was laid out dead. And the scene where they're sliding down the poles. They wanted to have these images and memories that Bruce would later on have, where he would have to remember, okay, yeah, I did this once with Damian, and they were laying down some groundwork for this for years. It sounds like they were getting ready for this. So I think this has been in the plans, this is the works, and this is what's going on. And holy crud, man, this is wow.
It's funny in comics nowadays, even knowing what I found out from the Post, and I'm glad you told me. Because I asked you, you were actually being really cool about it last night, you and Myron both. We recorded our next episode, not knowing at the time that we were going to do this ahead of time. We recorded the second part of our Green Lantern show, and you and Myron had both read this, and I had not. And you guys were both kind about it, saying, we don't want to ruin it for you, dude. But, that's for me. Like, you got to ruin it. I want to know. Yeah. And it's funny how it didn't ruin the issue for me, knowing that. It was just a really, really powerful issue, a moving issue. I don't really have much else to say about this other than I'm anxious to read where it goes next, what the funeral is like for this character, Batman and Robin are going to do, where Batman Inc. is going to go from this. How do you face Talia?
Multiple deaths.
How do you face Talia after this, though? What is that going to do for Bruce? I mean, I don't think Talia has any idea what she's unleashed upon herself. I remember Death in the Family, what it was like with Bruce, how Superman had to try and stop him and talk him down. The power of that moment. What's this going to be like? This is his son. And I'm not taking anything away from his relationship with the other Robins or with Jason, because I felt like those in their own way were his surrogate sons as well. But this is a son who, so young, the relationship between them had been strained and then had grown so close.
Yeah.
And to have survived so much. And he had put everything in place. He protected his... what's it going to be like? What's Alfred going to be like? How's Alfred going to feel after this with what happened? I don't know. And
Alfred, I tell you, Alfred's going to feel terrible.
Yeah.
Because Alfred didn't stop him from leaving. Even though Alfred couldn't have stopped him. But, and Alfred's going to blame himself.
I think the truth is I don't think Bruce will blame Alfred, though.
No.
Because I think Damian's point was legit. There was no way to stop him. And I actually really like that about Damian.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. But let's be honest, we know Alfred. He's going to blame himself.
Yes.
And it's going to take even Bruce probably telling him, don't blame yourself. He will probably still blame himself. Part of him will always bear part of the blame, just like part of Bruce will always bear the blame. Yeah. And Grayson's going to bear part. They're all going to feel some of the blame that they weren't there for him. Especially I think Dick Grayson's, this is going to hit him really hard. Just because right before that last fight, he was there. And we see in the background, he's struggling to try to get to his feet. He wasn't strong enough to get to his feet. He wasn't able to protect Damian. I think there's going to be some of that playing out as well.
Do you feel death has to stick in comics?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
If there's a good story for the death and a good story for the return, I'm all for it. And as I've thrown out a couple times in this conversation, they could even give me a really bad explanation of Damian's return, and I'd be happy just because I like the character. I'm throwing out my normal rule where you need a good story to return. No,
yeah, I do
now
too,
with Damian,
usually.
Any explanation, I'm fine with. Just because I like the character so much.
Now let me jump back though and say that ideally I'd prefer a great explanation as to why he comes back, because I actually think that the more clever that's handled at times, it takes you through high drama. Yeah. So that's an interesting part of this story. Is there anything else you want to say? Because I'm kind of at the point right now where I feel like I'm going to start backpedaling over things that we've already discussed. Is there anything else you've got to say about this one?
Yeah, it's funny because just the emotion. I've actually gone through the 5 stages of grief, by the way, throughout my reading this. My first reading through was pure rage. I was like, "No, man, come on! What are you doing?" And I was just so angry. I was like, "What the heck is he thinking? This is," and I'm just ranting. And there's a lot of just profane language I was using about, then, okay, calm down. Then they start looking through like, you know what? Okay, yeah, he was shot, he was hit with arrows, and he was run through the sword. Maybe he could survive that, I think, and I start going through my head all the different ways he could survive it. And then finally you get to the acceptance and just the moving on. And I've gone through all the stages, I think, within a span of a couple hours. Yeah. This kid's real to me, man. This kid was real to me. And this is going to be one that I am so looking forward to the issues, but I so don't want to, because I'm gonna imagine there's probably gonna be I'm gonna get choked up just because I'm thinking of what this guy's gonna go through, and just the one news article we read, I'm like, oh man, they're not done tugging at the heartstrings here, man. This is gonna be a tough one. These are gonna be some tough reads.
I put a link in our show notes for anybody out there to the New York Post article that originally the leak about what happened in Batman Inc., but then also the article that were from Newsarama with the interview with Pete Tomasi talking about the future of Batman and Robin, for anybody that's interested in reading those, because they're very good articles, and it's kind of interesting to see that.
Holy caffeine!
Once again, sponsoring this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. DCBService.com is your comic book pre-order source. Make sure to head over to their website this week. Over the early part of March, you're going to be seeing all the amazing deals that are coming up. And they always do these crazy 50% off deals for amazing things. Sometimes they have things up to 75% off. It's like crazy nuts what they do over there. But the 50% off deals on things like absolute editions, collect editions, hardcovers, trades. They do these bundles. If you're buying whole universes, you get bundle deals of 50% off titles. It's a great way if you're trying to continue to increase your comic book reading, or you're finding that like you've had to cut your comic book reading down because of expenses. Going to a site like DCBService.com allows you the opportunity to get more of the titles that you're enjoying. And it's a great way to support a show sponsor. And they sponsor a wonderful amount of podcasts. And please go to our website, click on the links in our show notes. I'm going to be putting banner ads back up for DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. The plugin that I used before, it was causing problems on the website, so I yanked it. And I'm in the process of finding a new plugin to put in its place. So for those of you that like going to our website and using the plug-in to go right to theirs, and we appreciate that because it lets them know you're coming from our website, I will be putting that up over the next week or so, so please be on the lookout for that on our website. And I just want to once again thank those amazing websites for supporting our show. Jim, our next episode, we actually have already recorded it. We thought it was going to be this episode, and this huge event happened, and we decided we really needed to put something out immediately about this, a quick short one. We're going to be back in less than a week with part 2 of our epic Green Lantern episode. And it's going to feature Green Lantern number 17, Green Lantern Corps number 17, Green Lantern New Guardians number 17, the first 3 parts of that story arc that featuring the first Lantern. And then also we've got Threshold issue number 2. And we're, of course, joined by, from Blog of Oa and Podcast of Oa, longtime friend of the show, Myron Rumsey, as we wrap up that great discussion. And that will be back easily in less than a week. Just pay attention to RagingBullets.com, because we already have that in the can and ready to go. I wanted to give this a few days for people to digest it before we come back with a new show. But we will see you then.
Bye!
Flying through space and time, 1,000 different lifetimes. Faded for love and flaws and incredibly clear sightlines. Swinging your mace around, such a practical outlook. Helping the JSA and occasionally supporting your own book. Hawkman, Hawkman, eagle eyes can't see. Hawkman, your plan. me, Hawkman. The villains are closing in, be they Thenengard or Egyptian, working so hard to thwart you and Hawkgirl's mission. The odds are not on your side, and danger seems to stack up. Things would be so much easier if you would just call for backup. Hawkman, Hawkman, eagle eyes can't see your plan and what you do to me. Hawkman, Hawkman, eagle eyes can't see